Okay, if everybody can get their seats, we'll get started. I don't want to cut this short because I know there's going to be a lot of questions, and fortunately, there will also be a lot of answers. So, good morning. My name is Bobby Melvin, Executive Director for OSP and a few other stuff at R&I, but welcome. We apologize for the kind of short notice on getting it set up, but it's the best circumstance we could have because we were more concerned about getting this meeting going and getting it set up than trying to make sure we could meet everybody's schedules. So for that reason, we are doing two presentations today, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and we are videotaping the sessions, and we are Zooming the sessions. So there's not much else we can do to get the maximum participation. Welcome to our friends from SRS, Sponsored Research Services, from Texas A&M. This morning, they're going to give you a brief overview, and I say brief, but it's not that brief. Brief overview only in the context that they do so much, they can't cover everything. We're going to start with Mr. David Hollingsworth, who's going to introduce SRS, introduce the concepts, talk about this AnSRS4U program, which is what we're receiving today. And I encourage everyone to interact. Don't hesitate to ask questions. There will be, in my experience, and I've been interacting with SRS most actively, I guess would be the right way to put it, since the takeover and even before. And I found them to all be very, very responsive and very cordial in their responses as well. It's been a lot of fun working with them. So with that, David.
Thank you, Bobby. Well, howdy, everyone. So that's kind of our standard, Texas A&M greeting. And we're glad to be here today. Want to welcome the staff and the faculty from Prairie View. And we're just really happy for this opportunity to be able to share with you about SRS and the resources that we can use to help you in your research efforts. Again, my name's David Hollingsworth. I'm a Director of Professional Development and Outreach for SRS. And one of the things I do, and you can see on the slide there, we actually say AnSRS4U and SRS4U. And one of the areas I do is to try to have a monthly presentation on some aspects of research administration. Just recently, we had one on international travel. We're having one that's going to come up talking about PI transfers, when a PI leaves and how to transfer that grant. We've got about 30 of these presentations on our website. So if you go to srs.tamu.edu and look under the resources tab, you'll see these presentations, the recording, and also the slides for about the last 2.5 years. So a lot of information is out there. There's also, I put together, I know sometimes you don't have time to sit down and watch maybe a 30-minute or 40-minute video. So we also have some 5 to 7-minute videos out there we call AnSRS4U Express, or also a variety of research administration topics. So you can take a look at that. Maybe there'll be something there that you can watch very quickly and answer your questions. And we also, for some of the staff, and I know I've talked to some of your staff over the years, we'll have a CRA program. It's a Certified Research Administrator program. So this is a program where you can study for an exam, and if you pass, you become a Certified Research Administrator. So it's a way to kind of show that you've got a certain level of expertise in research administration. And at TAMU, fortunately, our Vice President for Research and our Executive Director, they really encourage our people to strive for getting that certification. So one of the things I do is to offer a 13-week, 1 hour a week review sessions, and I do that in the fall and in the spring because they have the test in November and they have the test in May. And so that's open to anybody. I usually send it out to all the system schools. So I've had a number of people that have worked for Prairie View in the past sit in those sessions. So I'd encourage, if your staff is involved in that, to think about that when I send that out again. We'll start up in February. And so we're gonna, if you would, we've got a lot of different parts of SRS we're gonna go over today. So if you wouldn't mind, we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end. If you just hold your questions, same with the people that are on Zoom. So we welcome you as well. And we'll be able to address those questions at the end and have time for that. So right now I'm going to turn it over to Julie Bishop. She's one of our Associate Executive Directors with SRS, and she'll give you a little introduction, and then we'll have the folks that will go through each section, like our proposals, our contract negotiation, our asset group, project administration, and our sponsored billing group. And hopefully at the end, you're going to be very familiar with SRS. So again, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having us and hosting us today, Dr. Rajan and Bobby and Dr. Krish. We appreciate any opportunity that we can get to get in front of the faculty with all the members that we serve. Now, SRS is a service organization, so we do serve all of the Brazos County based members of the Texas A&M University system, but we also serve many of the regional campuses as well. So it's probably easier for me to tell you who we don't serve, because with onboarding Prairie View, and we recently onboarded West Texas, we really only don't serve Kingsville, Commerce, Texarkana, and that's really it. Everybody else, there is some part of service that we provide, whether it's partial service or full service. We are a cradle to grave operation, so we do have a opportunity to pick just a piece of our service, but most of our members use all of our service. The camera's moving, so it's like, I hope it's not recording like that, because it's going like this. Okay, so again, we were engaged by Dr. Rajan to come and serve Prairie View as the campus-wide initiative is to move from a R2 to an R1 research organization. So we are here to partner with you. I always, because we serve many of the regional campuses, you'll see when you see me, I will be here in my purple, because we are your partners. We are Prairie View. We are not Texas A&M when we are here. We are Prairie View. So I just wanted to make sure that you are aware of that. This is our vision. It's on our website. We, as David mentioned, we do serve as the subject matter experts for pretty much the entire A&M system. The system offices is actually engaging in some research and sponsored projects, and they are also using our services. So everybody across the system does really look to sponsored research services as a resource to help navigate those research admin components of your research. So we try very hard to reduce the administrative burden on the faculty and take those types of things on at Sponsored Research Services and serve as your expert to do that. So our leadership is Christy Billinger. She came from the University of Kansas. She has been with us since 2016. And then I serve most of our regional campuses, actually all of our regional campuses, and then the ag agencies, and then TTI and the Health Science Center. Jim Joyce is over our big IODP program, as well as contracts negotiations and research reporting. And then Chrissy Strada works over the university proper, Texas A&M University colleges, and then the Cutter campus, the Galveston campus, and then our engineering agency. Again, this is what we serve. We do a cradle to grave. So we're all the way from proposal through project setup, negotiations, and then we will post-award, we'll manage your project for the life of the project, sponsor billing, we'll do all of your invoicing and drawdowns on your projects, and then we'll go into a closeout session to close your project down. Is that it for me? Okay. So I'm going to turn it over to just the life cycle of a grant, and I'm going to turn it over to my pre-award team, and they're going to come up and introduce themselves, because what we tried to do is really show you guys that how big of a resource that you have with us, and all of these people that have come today are serving Prairie View in some capacity. So I will turn it over to Shelley Berry Hebb, who will introduce her team.
There you go. Just enough chairs. So good morning, everyone. As Julie said, I'm Shelley Berry Hebb, and I am the Associate Director for Proposal Services at Sponsored Research. And so this is my team. I have Stephanie Towns, who is one of my team managers. And then down here is Kay Kiefer. She's another team manager. And then the ladies that will be processing the proposal, some of you probably already worked with them. There's Julia Harwell, Lauren McIver, and most of you know Vita Yancey. She did come to us from the Prairie View R&I office. We have two today that couldn't be here. Oh, yes. I'm sorry. There are three today that couldn't be here with us. Crystal Patronella, some of you may have worked with her. She's actually caught up in jury duty this week. And then we have two out of the office, Lisa Murdso and Sarah Oliphant. So anytime you're getting ready to work on proposals, these will be the ladies that will help you when you reach out and do that processing. So. And then there are their names and contacts. And I do believe, Krish, this is on your website too, the contact list. Where did Krish go? Oh, there he is, right in the middle. But anyway, whenever you go, and it's in here later when we talk about the PNF form, I know there's a place there that you also indicate who your proposal contact is. And so you'll have the list with their contact information. So just to get started, the roles of the SRS proposal administrator, and a lot of this I don't think changed very much from whenever you were processing proposals with R&I. But, our job is to work with the faculty members on your budget and proposal preparation. And by proposal preparation, it's not, we're not writing or editing the documents. It's to assist you to make sure all of those components get put in that package, and that we have the best possible package going forward to a sponsor for review. Our staff will help you on the interpretation of guidelines, sponsor guidelines, if there are any questions or what have you. If we're unsure about something, we don't hesitate to reach out to a sponsor and ask for clarification on those guidelines. We will inform you of any prior approvals that may be needed. If there are certain requirements in an RFA, if you have to have cost sharing, if there has to be something special that we may need something from the VPR, we will assist in reaching out to Dr. Rajan's office to make sure we know exactly what avenues we need to go through to get any sort of prior approvals. Our staff will complete the administrative sections for you of a proposal, your cover pages, the budget documents. We will make sure to get all of that completed for a proposal submission with the correct and accurate information. And then we will be responsible for getting the signatures that are needed to complete a submission. And then again, like I said, should you want us to, some faculty members prefer to upload their own documents. They want to take care of that to make sure everything is going in the proposal just how they want it in there. That is perfectly fine. But our staff is also here to help you if you want to send the documents to them to upload into various portals. Now, the one thing is, if you're working with a sponsor and it is a PI specific portal, one that you have to register in, create your login and so forth, then on those PI specific proposals, because we do not email and share passwords, we would provide you like the budgetary information to upload, and then you would need to upload those documents into those portals, as I said, because we don't do the password sharing and things like that. And then, of course, at the end, we have a quality check, a quality review program that, as long as we're getting all the information in a timely manner, it goes through our quality review program. And then that's just one more set of eyes that will go over everything to make sure everything that sponsor requires for that proposal is uploaded in there and it's ready for submission. For your proposal routing, each proposal needs to route. All external funding proposals will need to route through the various process, department heads, deans, the VPR prior to submission. And the big push on this is we get that budget done, we get that draft text, and we get that into routing. That part of the process is done, and then you can focus on working on those technical pieces in those last few days leading up to that proposal submission deadline. And then, of course, once we receive everything, once everything is uploaded and finished and checked, we will make sure those proposals get submitted to the sponsor in whichever way it may be. Back when I started all this, it was we made all the copies and we put them in the package and made a label and rushed them to the post office or FedEx, and that's a thing of the past. Most of them are now electronic. If it's not like an electronic sponsor portal, some of it's just email submissions or what have you, but we will make sure either we are submitting those or we make sure that you guys know exactly what needs to be done for that submission process. So in communication with your proposal administrator and SRS, one thing that has not changed, and we have found it to be very helpful for us, is the completion of the PNF form or the proposal notification form from the faculty members to let us know that a proposal is being submitted. We have worked with Krish and made a lot of great enhancements to that document. He has helped us. So now whenever you go in to log in your proposal, all of the information is there. And then it even allows for you to choose who your proposal administrator is. And then that proposal administrator is directly notified. And so they can log that proposal in and get started on working with you for the submission. As you can see, we ask that when you're going to submit a proposal, we get about a 3-week notice. That gives us time to put it on our schedule, to work it into everything, to review the guidelines and know what we're looking at for the submission. If there is a complex proposal, which, we're hoping to see that. We're hoping to help you guys build up a lot of research funding here, but center grants that are going to involve various other institutions, maybe even private industry or what have you. But when you're building a collaborative team and there are a lot of moving components, we may ask for a little bit more notification. And that's simply because, yes, we still have the processes and procedures to go through, but when you're working with other institutions, they also have processes and procedures. And because we're going to need their information in enough time to get our proposals approved, then we have to back up the due date for them. And so they're going to their administrators and they need that time also to get their proposals processed. The last line was talking about the initial communication, including your basic proposal information. But as I said, we have actually worked with PV, and all of that information is actually on that proposal notification form. So as long as that notification form is filled out completely and in its entirety, our proposal administrators will have everything they need to get started with your proposal submission. So when we're looking at the proposals, we're talking about your administrative components. One of the things is you will, and some of you who have already worked with your proposal administrator to submit the proposals, you know that you receive an initial email from your administrator. It's just introducing themselves to you. And it also provides you with a timeline. And the timeline is really, I think it's pretty neat. For those of you who have seen it, it's color coded. So if you're actually inside the deadline, say, you know, you've notified us and we have 7 days until a proposal's due. You know, your first block might be red because we didn't have the full 15-day notification. But as you get closer to the dates of things that need to be done, so we can ensure the quality review on your submission or what have you, the colors change from green to yellow to red. And so if you're inside those submission deadlines is when, you know, the color changes from green. It's like, uh-oh, I might need to really focus on X, Y, or Z to get my proposal administrator the information they need. So when we're talking about the administrative components, that's your budget and justification, a draft of your abstract or your scope of work, any waivers you may need. If for any reason there is a waiver for indirect costs or cost sharing or anything like that, then we need to make sure those waivers are done and approved prior to 5 business days. And this is because one of the things we like to see to ensure we're going to get those approvals that everything's going to route through campus is we ask that this budget and your draft text be in routing 5 days prior to the submission date, because this will give it time to go through. If a department head, dean, if the VPR has any questions on it, then that gives them time to ask us the questions to go back in case we need to go back and look at something and maybe change something for someone. The other items that we ask for would be the bio sketch, the current and pending, data management plans, facilities and equipment. And a lot of these we understand, like a lot of times you have these maybe, and they're ready to go. So if we can get all of this information from you and out of your way, uploaded into a proposal, it just gives you that much more time to really focus on the meat of that grant and work on that technical part those last few days prior to a submission. And so then the technical components, we just ask that we have basically all of your proposal, the supplemental documents, the final technical proposal, 1 business day prior to the deadline day. And the reason we ask for that, and it was like I mentioned, is we have a quality review process. I know that some of your proposals, if you've been submitting them with us, you may have received notes back from your proposal administrator once you've turned everything in and you're ready to submit that says, okay, hey, this looks good, but we have a couple of things that sort of deviate from what the sponsor requirements state, and we need to update a couple of these documents. And so by giving us everything at least that 1 business day before and allowing our quality review team to look over it, you know, we're just ensuring that everything is compliant with the sponsor regulations on that submission. So our pledge to the research community is that the proposals that are received in the final format by the timeline that is given in that initial email to you will receive a complete and thorough quality review. And as I said, that means we look through the guidelines, we go through page by page on your proposal and ensure everything is accurate, complete, and correct. If you're outside of that timeline, we will review the administrative documents. We're going to take a look at that budget and the cover page to make sure at least the administrative part is correct and that we have that budget and that budget justification, that those items are correct. We will submit on time proposals as long as we have everything and we have it within those timeframes. The proposal will be submitted on time and it will be submitted complete as we have received it and reviewed it. And then the one thing that we do want to know, you know, our staff, they are rock stars. I'm not going to deny that. You guys have like some of the best we have to offer, and they are very thorough with what they do. But, you know, the one thing is that when we're working with our faculty members, it's just important to stress that timing is of the essence, and that, you know, yes, we absolutely understand, and we really try to be as compassionate as we can be when it comes to submitting these proposals, but we also don't ever know what might happen on a sponsor's end if a portal goes down, if the internet goes down, if anything happens. And so, you know, that's why we always do ask for, you know, we build in a little time, and we will do the absolute best job we can to ensure these proposals are submitted and that they make it to the agencies. But sometimes it does come with that understanding that if we don't get things within the timeline we need, and there may be a problem with a sponsor saying, hey, we found something in your proposal that wasn't compliant with the guidelines, and it comes back, then you assume that risk of the possibility of a proposal being returned. But that's why I said, if we can just get that little extra time, build in that time, get those things and review them all for you, I really feel that, you know, we will, close the gap, negate that process. Like, we just won't have that happen. So anyway, and I know they did say there will probably be questions for us, and we'll be back up here to answer them. But so if you have some, make sure you write them down so you can ask us. And now I'm going to turn it over to Miss Catherine Kissman, or is it Catherine or Travis? Which one? Perfect.
Good morning, everyone. Does anybody need a stretch break yet? Okay. We're so happy to be with you guys today. I'm Catherine Kissman. I am the Director of Research Contracts, and we do funded research agreements for all of the SRS schools that Julie had mentioned previously, and we will be handling all of the funded research agreements for your campus. The unfunded research related agreements will still be handled by Bobby's office, and we'll work closely with him and with the compliance officials here at Prairie View to ensure that your research agreements are properly reviewed for any potential risk to you or to your institution, and work with you guys to mitigate those issues and to ensure that your compliance officials have everything that they need to carry out their portion of their reviews as well. I'm pleased today to have with us the contract negotiators that are going to be working with you on your research agreements. In addition, we're going to be hiring one additional person that will also be assisting with reviewing agreements for Prairie View. So today we have with us Dr. Travis Young. He is the Associate Director for Research Contracts that handles the Texas A&M, the Health Science Center. No, actually, you don't handle Health Science Center. Pardon? Industry for the Health Science Center at the university. And he handles the Engineering Experiment Station in Prairie View. And and the TAMU, Cutter, and Galveston branch campuses. And so he will be the main point of contact that y'all have when you're working on issues that come through. In addition, we have Mr. David Lytle. He is currently managing all of the prime awards that come through directly from the sponsors. And we also have Katrina Parrott with us, and she is handling all of the sub-award negotiations related to Prairie View's contracts. So with that, Travis, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
That'll work. Well, howdy, everybody. I'm just going to give just a little brief overview of kind of what the role of an SRS contract negotiator is. Basically, you know, when you get an award, and if it's a grant from someone like NSF or NIH, something like that, generally those are fairly standard terms. We don't ever negotiate those. However, if you get anything from a contract from the federal government, from a state agency, or a contract from a nonprofit, or from an industry sponsor, any of those type of awards, those are something that comes with a contract and has terms that we have to review and negotiate. And basically, we need to review those terms and make sure, one, are they something that we can do legally? Are they something that is in compliance with TAMU system regulations? And also, is it something that we want to do, if there are terms that we actually can accept? One of the other things that we do, and this is where we work with the proposals team very closely, sometimes what will happen is we'll get a proposal in that says, upon submission of this proposal, you have to agree these specific terms. And that's where the proposals group will reach out to contract negotiators and say, we have this RFP that we're submitting a proposal for. We need you to review these terms and see if we need to submit any exceptions at this time. And that's where we work really closely with the proposals group, because those often come in, they have a short deadline. We have to submit exceptions along with the proposal that's being submitted. Sometimes when it's necessary, when we're dealing with certain sponsors who have terms that are difficult for us to accept, we have to work with some of the higher offices. We have to work with TAMU's Office of General Counsel, and we have to work with the Vice Chancellor for Research's office, especially with regards to things like intellectual property, because things like intellectual property for any of the system members, Prairie View included, is owned by the TAMU system. So they have to weigh in to see if the terms that we are agreeing to in a contract with regard to intellectual property are something that we can accept based on the specific project. And if there are items in the contract that have to do with cost sharing, project termination, suspension, other business risk type decisions, that's where we would work with the Prairie View Vice President for Research's office to see, okay, are these risks that Prairie View is willing to take for these specific terms? So that's where we would engage the VPR's office here and say, okay, is this a risk that Prairie View is amenable to? And so basically, once we get all the approvals needed, then we basically track the agreement to full execution, and then I would sign it for Prairie View, and then we would get it executed. And then that's where it moves on to the next step of the process. Let's see if I can advance this. As I mentioned, one of the things, these are some sort of a high level description of what we look for. One of the first things that we look for, and this is what can hold up a negotiation, is if a proposal has not been routed. If we get an agreement that does not have a proposal that's routed through the proper channels and being approved by all of the individuals at Prairie View and the department and so forth, then we have to route a proposal. So typically, in most cases, the proposal's already done ahead of time by the proposals team and we're good to go. If not, then we have to route the proposal simultaneously with us reviewing the contract. And that's something that we need to address when we receive a contract. Financial conflicts of interest. This is where you will get a notice when an award comes in to and we basically check to see if there are any financial conflicts of interest with any consulting. And this is where the faculty generally have to disclose on a yearly basis what their financial commitments are outside of the university. And we have to check to make sure that the entity that we're contracting with does not have a conflict of interest with any other issues that the faculty member has. On here, it mentions an export control determination form. I will say, Prairie View is actually a step above some of our other members that we deal with, T's and A&M. They require an actual form for us to fill out to determine if there are any export control issues. And David mentioned we are working with the compliance office here at Prairie View, and they have indicated as long as we basically select if there are any pre-publication review required or what, or restrictions or foreign national restrictions, anything like that, as long as we highlight that in Maestro, that will notify the office down here and that can be basically taken care of by the compliance office here. So we don't technically need a form, but if we do notice anything with regard to publication restrictions, foreign national restrictions, or export language that we typically can't agree with, we will let the office know here, and then they will work with the faculty member to address that, to, you know, if we can and can't hire certain people on the project and things like that. Compliance is another issue that we look for in contracts to see, is there animals involved? Are there humans involved? Is there language that requires certain approvals? And also, we will see, okay, if it does involve animals or humans and it's not mentioned in the contract, but, you know, the scope of work kind of indicates that we are working in that direction, we would contact the PI and say, you know, are you sure this doesn't need an IRB? Are you sure this doesn't need an IACUC? And then basically they will work from there with the compliance office here at Prairie View. One of the last things we look for is just generally high risk terms. One of the terms, like for instance, reperformance, where they basically say, if we're not completely satisfied with the work you do, you have to reperform it at your own cost. That's a significant risk. And these are things that we have to decide, is this worth it to Prairie View to proceed in this way if they will not change that language? And you know, risk terms like that, if they won't allow us the ability to terminate and things like that, we would work with Prairie View to say, is this something we want to do and move forward with, or should we push back and try to get better terms? So I'm going to move on, and now I'm going to let our assets team talk about what they do, because they are they're kind of in between all teams, I would say. So go ahead. Yes.
For all of you, the contract negotiators do an excellent job of keeping track of the status history of your contract status in Maestro. So within the Maestro module, project module, there's a section that addresses your contract negotiations. And at any given time, as the contract negotiators are going through the review, working with the compliance offices, working with general counsel, when they're having communication with any of your sponsors, any of your sub-recipients, they're documenting what they're doing in a status history within that module. So at any point in time, if you're wanting to know and it's midnight and you can't get a hold of one of your negotiators, you can log into Maestro and you can see the exact current status of your contract, plus everything that's been done prior to that point, from the time that we've received it from the asset team and had it logged in and began the review, all the way to the time where it is going to be fully executed. So there's several different status histories. There's over a dozen of them, and those will be updated there. So for any of the active contracts that you have in negotiation now, when you log into Maestro, you'll be able to see those statuses.
Yes, thank you, Catherine.
Sure.
Yeah, and she's right. There are. You can always call your contract negotiator, and Katrina and David would be happy to talk to you. But sometimes, like you said, it's midnight. You want to know where things are. Their statuses are updated constantly in Maestro, so they'll let you know where it is. So,
Thank you.
all right. Thanks, guys.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Laura Hollingsworth. I'm the Assistant Director for the Asset Team, which stands for Award and Account Setup Expediting Team, which is a mouthful, which is of course why we shortened it. This is Samantha Corpus. She's on our team, and she has been really kind of designated to handle all of the Prairie View setups, at least initially, so that we can try and keep things as consistent as possible for you. We also have another member on our team that will be helping quite a bit. Her name is Mandy Martinez. She's the manager that will be handling everything for Prairie View, as well as several other members. And unfortunately, she couldn't join us. She's ill today. Okay, so I want to go over briefly what Asset does. I know this is different. This is not something that the Prairie View OSP office previously had. SRS itself has had this group for about 6 years, I believe. This is actually an initiative from Christy Billinger, something that she kind of started at her previous institution, and it worked really well to help with data integrity. So she brought it over. We've kind of worked through the kinks of all of that, and now we have things working really smoothly. So that we'll be able to bring to you all and help with expediting your setups. So our team, we have a manager, a box that is managed by our team. It's awards@tmu.edu. All of our agreements come in there. There are really, it's kind of a catch-all for anything that sponsors may want to send us. And we will review that box and make sure that if it isn't an award, it gets sent out to the right individual. If it is, we will review that agreement, see if it's something that needs negotiations or not. We'll log it into Maestro and make sure it gets to the right individual. So if it needs review and signature, it'll get tasked to our negotiations team. If it doesn't, then it would be tasked on to Sam at that point, and she would work on actually setting up the account for you in Maestro as well as in Famous, loading the funds, all of those types of things. So our goal is to set those up, within 5 days of having all of the items cleared, which is really the big thing that I want to review with you all today. So there are several different items here that we need to make sure are handled before we can release funding for you. We are starting that process as soon as we receive the agreement. So it comes into our awards box. We have a team member who will notify me when we have a new award for Prairie View that comes in. And at that point, I will go in, I'll review the proposal, I'll review the agreement to see how many support accounts do we need, who is the PI, these types of general things, so that we can get your account profile form kind of started. That is a Prairie View requirement. That was something that is ongoing from what OSP had done, and that is continuing. So what we're trying to do is expedite that process as much as possible. So I will kind of do the basic information at the top part of the form, and I will send it to your business administrator, as well as the PI will be copied on that form. And we'll give you some pretty general information there on what you need to do. You need to complete this form. You need to send it through DocuSign to have all the appropriate signatures, and then it will go to Cosette Turner's group with accounting services. If you do have any questions about how to complete that form, we will ask you to contact Cosette, because seeing how this is a Prairie View form, she's really the best person to be able to assist with those types of questions. So also at that time, when awards come in, several tasks will go out to the PI. You'll get a task for reporting codes if it's a research project, the PI compliance statement, as well as personnel tasks that will help us monitor our FCOI list of investigators. So if at the time that I am sending out the account profile form, I notice that you have tasks that are still pending, I'll go ahead and make that note on the email as well, so that you know exactly what all is needed from you. And we have step-by-step instructions that I will provide as well. So we have the step-by-step instructions for all of the tasks, as well as completing your financial conflict of interest disclosure in Maestro. And there's also a little bit of information if you're needing to complete your FCOI training. We can give you the link on where you can go and complete that in TrainTrack. In addition to your tasks and FCOI, of course, we need to ensure that a proposal has been routed and approved, and any compliance items that you have been approved by the Prairie View Compliance Office. Sam and I have been working kind of hand in hand with the accounting services group to make sure that we are receiving those forms. If for some reason we get to the point where all of the other items are cleared and we're only waiting on the account profile form, we will definitely be in touch with Cosette's team to let them know that this is the only item we're waiting on, to try and make sure that we can get that process going smoothly for you. So our goal is to try and take that off of your shoulders so that you don't have to worry about kind of coordinating that effort. One note I did want to make on the account profile form that is a change from what you all are used to is that you do not need to list any SRS contacts on the form. I know previously you may have listed Tori or Rita, Shamala. That's not something that we need to be done. We have a different mechanism, and I believe Post Award may speak on that in a little bit. But basically, when we have a flag in our system that marks it as an SRS project, and that keeps us from having to input ourselves directly into your routing paths. It will just come to us as it's needed. Okay, so as soon as we have completed our setup of the project, we will release that to our project administrators. They will do a full quality review for you to make sure that there's nothing that we missed. So of course, we're all humans, so a second set of eyes is always going to be beneficial. And once they have completed that review, they will release a SPS report that stands for sponsored project summary, sorry. And that kind of goes over the general details of the project. It'll tell you if there's any cost share, if you have subs on there, it will tell you how much money is in each of your support accounts, those types of things. And so that is kind of taking the place of what you previously had with your PI orientations. We will no longer be handling those, but of course, if you have any questions, you can always reach out either to our team or to your project administrator, and we would be happy to help you. So once it's released to your project administrator, they will be the ones that are monitoring that project for the life of the project. And at that point, they become your single point of contact. So I'll go ahead and turn it over now to Carolyn, Kelsey, and Whitney for Post Award.
Just use a Okay. Hi, everybody. It is a pleasure to be able to be in front of you all today and let you know all what we do. Our team consists of what you met, Julie Bishop. She's our Associate Executive Director. I'm Carolyn Ingledow, the Associate Director over Post Award. And I've got my two managers here, Kelsey McCowan and Whitney McFarland, which you've probably already been talking to them. We brought on Tori Johnson and Rita Franklin that was previously here at Prairie View, and they joined our team October the 1st. And so they're going through some mentoring and training right now to catch up on SRS processes and procedures. Just want to kind of give you a little bit of overview. We have 17 project administrators just on our team. We have 3 financial specialists. The financial specialist handles the cost share, closeouts, exotic travel review, which we can go over that later, subaward invoicing, and FAFATA. Due to the workload, SRS is also creating 2 more positions, project administrators. We are waiting to get those created and approved and whatnot so we can start the hiring process. And I'll tell you why in just a minute. Our team handles the project administration or management for Texas A&M AgriLife Research, AgriLife Extension, TVMDL, which is the Texas Veterinary Medical Diagnostic Laboratory. And now we have the College of Veterinary Medicine, and now we have Prairie View. Just to kind of give you a little bit of overview on how many projects that we are managing currently, these are active. AgriLife Research is 1,430. AgriLife Extension is 375. TVMDL is 12. College of Veterinary Medicine is 89. And Prairie View is 314. That is a total of 2,220 active projects that our team right now is managing. So we are very, very busy, as you can imagine. But we have made a pledge to you all. We will be very responsive. I hope that we have met those goals already. I've had the pleasure of talking to several of the PIs. I don't know if they're in the audience right now or via Zoom. But anyway, it's been a pleasure, working with you all. So we look forward to all future collaboration. And I'm going to turn it over to my experts here.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Kelsey McCowan. I know I've worked with a lot of you already on getting things going, getting requests out, and making sure we're up to speed with everything. So we're going to kind of go through the roles of project administrators and then kind of the collaboration between departments, PIs, your project administrator, kind of go into all of those details. So as they've said, like once your award is fully executed and it's gone through our setup team, then it comes over to the project administrator and we are your main point of contact. So a lot of times we like to say we're the hub. When you need something, we're the person that you want to contact. So if it's something that we handle, then we'll work on it. If it's something that we need to bill out to our sponsored billing or proposals or asset, then we'll make sure we get everybody involved so that you get your items taken care of. And so a lot of what we handle is performing your project compliance on your projects. So we want to make sure we're following those terms and conditions that we've agreed to, whether that's making sure that we're staying within the budget terms. So if you have flexibility, we're watching that, making sure that we're staying within it. If we don't, then we're making sure that we work with you if you do need to make adjustments so that we can request approval with the sponsor so that they know that we, need to adjust, whether that's for your scope of work or your budget. We also ensure that your expenditures and revenue are in balance. So a lot of times this comes in just to make sure that we're invoicing for everything that you're working on, that you're needing for your projects. We're making sure that if we need to do corrections, we're identifying those early and making sure they're getting taken care of. And then also just to make sure we're good to go once we get to the end of the award and close it out, that there's not a whole lot that we need to make adjustments for or change. We also review your expenditures for allowability, allocability, and reasonableness. So with all the projects that we manage, it's not very clear. We can't see every single expenditure that comes through. There's just too many. So what we like to do is take care of those high risk ones to make sure that they're allowable in the project. So a lot of times that's your equipment, tuition, participant support cost, stuff like that we have an eye on just to make sure it's allowable in your project. And if it's not, that we work with you to see if the sponsor will allow it. We're always trying to make what you need work, whether that's reaching out to the sponsors and communicating the need for it and the justification for it, and then letting them make that final determination. So we always like to give you options. We don't like to say, no, we can't do this, or we shouldn't do this. We like to say, well, why don't we try it this way? Or let's ask for approval and make sure that we're staying within those regulations. On top of that, we work on the closeout of your award. So once we reach the end of it, we want to make sure all the expenses that you have been applied to your project. You've worked really hard to get everything done to make sure that your scope of work was completed, your reports are submitted. We want to make sure that you're getting compensated for all of that. So we work with the PI, we work with the department, your business administrator, just to make sure everything has been applied. And then we work with our sponsored billing group to make sure that that's all included on your final invoice. We do have multiple checks to make sure. So we work with our sponsored billing to confirm finals. And if we have differences, then we make sure we work out to see what are those differences. Do we need to get approval to include last minute expenses, that kind of thing. We also, like Carolyn said, have a specialist that works on the closeouts with us. So your project administrator does a few, like the first half of the closeout, to make sure that we have everything in, everything's matching up. And then we have a specialist that works on the final piece, whether that's making sure that we receive payment from the sponsor, making sure that we send money back if maybe there were corrections. So we definitely have a team that works on those. And then we also, like I said, work with our sponsored billing group, which we'll meet later. We just make sure that we're all on the same page on when invoices are due, when finals are due, and if something comes back from the sponsor because it's unallowed, well, can we work with them to request approval to include it, or do we need to move it off? So we work very closely with every single group within SRS, and I think you'll start to see that the more that we work on projects together. I wanted to show how you can identify SRS accounts, because we know you have department accounts, you have some old accounts that need to be closed out. So we want to make sure that you can identify if it's an SRS account and then to reach out to your project administrator. So on the left side, you can see this is famous, and in the top right corner, there's an SRS field. And if it's set to Y, then that means it's one of our accounts. And then on the right side is Canopy, so that you can see there's another SRS section and it'll say Y if it's our account. You also can determine it from Maestro. So in Maestro, you'll have your full list of accounts. So that's going to include everything that you have in your name. You can tell your sponsored research or the accounts that come through us will be 4 accounts. And then it should have a sponsor listed. And then you should also see right now Meyer Whitney's name. We are going to start, spreading out the projects between the rest of our team. But for right now, Whitney and I are trying to get up to speed on everything and get familiar before our team starts managing them. And then one update I wanted to give was the pre-travel request, because I mentioned we review the allowability for your high-risk expenses. And one thing that's different is pre-travel requests used to come through the OSP office for approval before you could do your travel. So our office handles the expense report review. Once your travel has completed, we review it to make sure the travel was allowed on the project, you have enough money, it was within your period of performance, kind of do that thorough review. So this will be a little bit of a change. We ask that the PIs, you worked on your proposal and your scope of work, putting everything together, and you know what travel is required for a project. So making sure that you're requesting travel that is within the scope of your projects. And then if you have questions because you're unsure, maybe you had to make a little adjustment and it's not something that you anticipated at proposal time, your project administrator can work with you to put those requests together to let you know, oh yes, that would be approved. We can see how we can justify that with the sponsor and that kind of thing. So we're always, if you have questions, please reach out to us. We're very happy to look into it and make sure that it's something that's allowable. So that way you don't do travel that at the end of the day would not be allowed on the project. And I did want to say, if there is some travel that is unallowed by the sponsor, that will work with the PI and the department to identify where that should go. I think that's it. So I'm going to pass this over to Whitney.
So we wanted to go over basically the roles and how we are going to work with the PIs, how we will work with the business administrators and those kind of things. So we will typically work with PIs on any of their technical reporting. So whether that be in a portal or if it's just the Maestro deliverable, we review those and we will manage those in Maestro. We look at those at least once a month and we let you know if something's overdue. So we help manage your overdue technical reports. We can submit them if we need to or just work to make sure that they're getting submitted. We also are going to work with PIs on budget revisions that are needed to complete their scope of work. So we did want to make a note that we no longer do DBRs in the Canopy system. Those can be handled just by email. Let us know what budget changes that you are needing, and then we will submit those requests via email, or if it is a portal, we will work to get those budget revisions taken care of. We will also work with the PIs on any sponsor requests that we have or that you have, if that is the budget revision, if you need a no-cost extension, if you have any PI changes or any PI transfers, we are going to be the contact that are going to help you request that with the sponsor. We will do that in their portals or start that process via email. We also are going to be reaching out to PIs and working with them on their sub-award payment approvals, and these will be handled via email now. They will come to us in an inbox. We will reach out to the PIs and make sure that we are okay to pay your sub-awards the amount that they are invoicing for us. It's the PI knows the collaborator and should know of the work that's going on their project, so we will work directly with the PIs to make sure that those approvals are that we're receiving them and that we can approve payment to pay them. We will also work with the PIs on preparing the closeout of the project. This includes confirming that all your final expenses have been put on the project. If there are any sponsored required closeout documents, we will also, help the PIs with those as well. If it's an invention report or a publication report or something like that that is due to the sponsor at the closeout, we will work with the PIs on that.
Typical things that we were going to work with the business administrators on, that's going to be anything that is going to be put onto the account. So that's identifying any needed payroll or departmental corrections. So if something was done in error or something was put on a different sponsored account and needs to go to another sponsor account, we will work with the business administrators to make sure that those DCRs are done or PCTs are done. Those are to be initiated by the Prairie View departmental offices. That's not something that we at SRS can initiate. It's just something that we can help facilitate and review when it does come to us to review. We want to also work with the business administrators on any issues for pending approval, such as costing allocations, canopy routing, travel reports, or Panther buy items. So if there are any rush items, please don't hesitate to call us, send us an email. If there's someone that's not getting paid because their costing allocation hasn't been approved, we want to work with the business administrators and build those relationships to that where we can get things approved in a timely manner. If there are any account errors or deficits or encumbrances, restrictions, those are going to be things that we work with the business administrators on as well. We also work with the administrators on those closing expenses. We want to make sure that the PIs have turned in expenses as they should, and that the ABAs or the business administrators have processed them in the systems to be put onto the account. There's also needs to be a collaboration between the PIs and the departmental staff as well. So the PIs are going to need to work with the business administrators on identifying the needed effort that goes onto the sponsored projects, whether it be your grad students or your grads, your faculty, your staff, your co-PIs. And this also is going to be your effort for all the fiscal year, as well as any summer salary. So that's something that you need to coordinate with your business administrators and make sure that the correct effort is put into Workday and work on those. Requesting the purchase or allocation of project needs. So if you're needing supplies, if you are needing equipment, that's something that you will provide your business administrator with those documents. That way we can process them and get them paid through the Panther buy system. And just ensuring that all project expenses have been put on and processed onto the account. So it takes a big collaboration from everyone. And like Kelsey said, we are the central point of contact for your projects. So we'll be happy to facilitate any of those requests or any of those approvals or any of those needs that we can. So please feel free to reach out on any of those. And I think that is it. We'll turn it over to sponsored billing group now.
Good morning. My name is Julie Burnham, and I'm an assistant director in sponsored billing at SRS. This is Elizabeth Richardson. She is the manager on my team, and she has currently 5 research administrators that are on her team. Well, technically, one of the positions is brand new. So back to what Carolyn was mentioning of those roughly 2,200 active projects that they're managing. My team is responsible for all of the financial deliverables. So those are the invoices, the financial reports, the letters of credit, also known as drawdowns, in addition to the collection of those outstanding receivables. So given that volume, we are in the process of adding an additional position to Liz's team in order to ensure that we can provide the highest level of service to all of the members that we serve, such as Prairie View. 2 other individuals that we have that are responsible for the collection of outstanding receivables are Chelsea Secting, and then we have a student worker named Brian Lowak. So we'll get into a little bit more meat of what that collection process looks like and how the PIs and the departmental staff may be involved in that process. So like I said, our team is responsible for the financial deliverables. So that includes those invoices, the financial reports, the drawdowns. There are some specialized reports that fall on our team. So this is according to the terms and conditions that are held within the award. So we're working very closely with the project administrators, and our team are those subject matter experts on those financial deliverables. And it allows the project administrators to really focus on the general management of those projects. And our team can specialize and work closely with them on final figures and those things that Kelsey mentioned earlier. We're utilizing Famous and Maestro in order to create those invoices and get those submitted to the sponsors. We're using the financial figures that are within Famous, the expenditures that have posted there in order to do drawdowns within all of the different sponsor portals. And so we have been working very closely with the project administrators as well as our cash management team at SRS and treasury services here at Prairie View in order to get all of the current Prairie View projects reconciled, ensuring that we are adhering to the award requirements regarding the financial deliverables. We are also responsible for resolving reconciliation problems. So at times we'll submit something to the sponsor and the sponsor will come back and they'll say, we need a revision, or we have some additional questions, or this is not an allowable expense. Or we don't want to pay for that. And it is then our job to then go and re-review those award documents, ensuring that what the sponsor has told us is accurate. And then we're working very closely with our project administrators. And we may be reaching out to you as the PIs and also to your departmental staff, trying to get some assistance on reconciling those issues so that we can get answers to the sponsor on those. So you are going to be seeing some emails directly from our team. We always copy in the project administrators so that they're also aware of what's going on, because they are that central hub and we are the financial deliverable experts. So we always want to make sure we're all on the same page and we're communicating effectively. So if you see emails from right now, they're going to either be coming from Elizabeth or myself. Please look at them. Please respond accordingly. In addition to all of that, my team is also responsible for the collection of outstanding receivables. So these are invoices, and not just for Prairie View, but for every member of the A&M system that SRS serves. So like Julie Bishop mentioned, there's only currently 4 members that we're not serving. And so it's a very large volume. Our goal within that collections is to try to get payments in as fast as possible according to the award terms and conditions. So we are looking at those payment terms within the documents, the award documents, and we're ensuring that our sponsors are actually adhering to those. It is very important that we're not just invoicing, but we're also receiving that revenue. And so we will work closely with the financial office here at Prairie View for any issues that we run into later down the road. So you will, once we start our normal collection procedures for Prairie View, which is slated to start in January, PIs will be copied on our communication to the sponsors so that you are aware that there are outstanding receivables. That gives you an opportunity to provide us additional context. If you know something that maybe we don't know, ability to tell us, hey, I'm actually in the process of asking for an extension, or we're behind on technical deliverables, which is why our sponsors are not paying. And so we just really ask that as you're getting those emails, that if you do know something that we're not aware of, that you are reaching out to myself or Chelsea and providing that additional context. Is there anything else you want to add? So, well, we're at the end of the line. And so, if we're going through that entire cycle that we saw on one of those first slides, we've gone through the entire process, and, getting payments is one of the last things. And we work very closely with the project administrators and the financial specialists that are doing the closeouts in order to ensure that these awards are getting closed out properly. And that involves making sure that our sponsors have actually paid us according to the terms and conditions. So I'm going to turn it back over to Julie Bishop. So thank you for your time.
lot of information, right? Some that you may have already known, some that you may not have known. I think Dr. Rajan does have one slide. So do you want to do it now or do you want to do it after Q&A? Okay, perfect. So I do know that we have one question online that we can get somebody to tell us what it is. And then I think there's somebody has a mic somewhere. There it is. And so if y'all have any questions, just kind of raise your hand and he'll bring the mic to you so that make sure that the people that are on Zoom can also hear the question. Okay, thank you. We covered it all. We're gonna get back here and then we'll come up.
Okay, good morning. Just quick question. So what is the difference between for us as a faculty working with the previous system and now working with SRS? There any technical administrative difference?
I think a couple of differences that you're gonna see. I believe that OSP reviewed every single expenditure that went onto your projects. And like Kelsey described specifically, that we worked out with FAMUS a special routing path that looks at that indicator of SRS-Y, and it will pick up what we have identified as high-risk object class codes. So things that really need review, because there's lots of things that go on to projects that are standard. So if you're doing bench research, we don't need to see beakers and you know those regular scientific supplies, but like some examples of things that we do see. We see all salary costing allocations. We see all animal charges, so per diems, purchase of animals, that sort of stuff. We see participant support costs. We see all travel. We see equipment, tuition. Yeah, so that's one change. Hopefully that will process things quicker for you guys, because they do work that box regularly. They're supposed to go through it and work it within 24 hours of receiving an expense to approve. So that will hopefully speed things up. We are working with your finance office to expedite the account setup, account profile form. So that's been a process that we've been working through with them. And so hopefully that you will see some improvement from that aspect as well. Anything else? Ladies, that you can think of?
Yeah.
I hope you will see accounts set up a lot quicker with Laura's team. Like she said, the goal of that team is to get projects established that have all compliance and reporting codes and everything completed within 5 business days. And so I hope to see that. Another change you may, I'm not sure what OSP was doing at the time, and Vita may be able to speak to it. I'm not sure, but one of the things that we do is when a new award comes in, you're going to get a notification that the award has been received, and then you'll get those tasks to go in and complete some tasks that you need to do, like reporting codes and your compliance and that sort of stuff. But we will also, once the award is completely set up, we will issue what we call an SPS, which is a sponsored project summary, and then that will give you really the detail of everything, and that will go to a number of people. So not just the PI, it'll go to probably the department head, maybe the departmental administrator, you know, somebody else in the college that may want to see it, just to let them know, hey, this new project has hit, we have a new account number, this is the PI, this is maybe some cost sharing that's been committed that the department needs to make sure that they handle, and that sort of stuff. So those are some of them. I hope that they're good improvements for you. Yes.
Yeah.
So I have three questions. Two of them are specific to my situation, and one is general questions, probably for everybody. So the first one is I have a DOE grant pending on the negotiation process. Probably this question to the negotiation team. So I received several Matthew notifications saying that it's under compliance review, X-ray, laser, and the intellectual properties. But it says I don't need to do anything, but I keep checking the status in Metro and it says, the current status is sponsor review. So I don't understand what is this current status. Are we already submitted the compliance review result? So this is the first question. Second is that I have another USDA project. I have submitted a technical report last year, but in the summer, but the financial report is still pending. So because now that was something before the SRS take over. So should I contact the new SRS team to solve this issue, or no? How do I solve this? The last question is for everybody. Can we get this training slides?
So Bobby has the slides. So yes, that'll be up to, how he wants to distribute that to the campus community.
Basically, since this is specific to your
Right. This is on, correct? So with regard to your question on the status history, if the status history indicates that it's with the sponsor, that typically means that we've already done a review. We have red lines for our questions to the sponsor, and we've contacted them. David will get back with you with regard to the specific things that may have gone to a sponsor to answer that question. And I also wanted to touch on something I said earlier, and that was that your most recent status history will be in Maestro. All of your status histories are there, and they can have more than one status that's concurrent at the same time. So you had mentioned compliance. So if something is out for review at compliance, it can also have a status history that it's been sent to the sponsor, because we may have sent red lines for the sponsor to look at, and we may also have compliance items at the same time. We may have also had a question for the project administrator with regard to the budget, and so we may have that as a status history. So some of those may be happening at the same time. When they're closed, when something's resolved, it'll usually indicate there that, that they've taken care of that matter. So does that help with that? Perfect. Sure.
So this topic on lasers came up recently, and I was told from our research compliance director and associate director there that Prairie View A&M does not have the lasers review at the university EHS office. So it's being done at A&M office. So anything related to lasers is being reviewed on the compliance front on A&M, while our research compliance staff approves whatever is on our side. I just wanted to add that I learned over this week.
So I'll touch a little bit more on the compliance piece that you asked about. When you get the task to do your PI compliance statement, you're identifying any compliance items that you feel are applicable to the project. So we're asking you if at that time, if you have, say, an IRB and you haven't started on it, that's a great time to start and reach out to your compliance team. They've been great to work with. I'm really looking forward to continuing to work with them more. So I would encourage you guys to reach out to them. They are very responsive in getting answers to you on what all is needed. And if there are items like Dr. Rajan mentioned that are not handled here, if you're not sure who to contact, feel free to reach out to me and I can give you that contact information. But just remember that those items have to be resolved before we can release funds. So if you're ever unsure whether action needs to be taken by you, please reach out and make sure that you're good to go before we get to a point that that's the only thing we're waiting on to release funds.
And then I wanted to answer the question regarding your USDA past due financial report. So the easiest thing is going to be if you'll send me an email, Julie Burnham, so jburnham@tamu.edu, and I will look at the project in detail and see where it ended, what's past due, and then I will work with Bobby at the PVR&I office in the event that it needs to go back to them for submission, but we will get you an answer as soon as possible and we'll get it taken care of.
Okay, my name is Erdogan Memeli. I serve as the Executive Associate Director of our research programs in the College of Agriculture, Food, and Natural Resources. I found the seminar quite useful here, and two quick questions. One, in rare cases, because of the multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary nature of the research, the network needs to start working way in advance. And I'm wondering if there's a deadline or a timeline that we can start early. How early can we start utilizing your service?
It's never too early.
Okay.
No, actually, there are a couple of things. No, anytime you know that you may want to work with a team to submit a proposal or what have you, it's never too early to complete that PNF form and alert your proposal administrator. Now, in some very rare instances, there are some sponsors who actually say this proposal may be due on X day, but they don't start accepting the submissions until 30 to 60 days prior. So it's never too early to reach out to us, and we will walk you through those processes. If there's a deadline, and we'll say, okay, this is great, we're going to work on this and we will have it ready, but we can't technically hit the button until 30 days before the actual proposal due date. So, but yes, absolutely. The sooner the better, we get all of those little technical pieces out of the way, and then you can just focus on writing that proposal.
Got it. Thanks. Next and last is, you have a lot of programs here that I think we could benefit our community by being on your mailing list for your presentations, workshops, and in fact, the certified research administrator certificate sounds like would be good for every PI. It wouldn't hurt for sure. Do you have a list that we could be subscribed to or receive the information? Thanks.
Okay, I'll address that. I do at the A&M campus, I have a list for faculty, a listserv, and a listserv for the staff. I'll probably talk with your contacts here, Bobby and Dr. Krish, and see if they prefer. Whenever I'm sending something out, I can just send it to them and then they can use their distribution list as opposed to maybe creating a new list. But I'll work with them and see how they want to do that. And the CRA, it's really mostly directed for staff that are working with you on that.
I believe I was told there's an online question. Does anybody have that? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Noel Estwick. Thanks to the team for this information. It's been very informative. So 2 questions. I was trying to take notes. I appreciate the question about the slides. I'm not fast enough. I have a no-cost extension that's been in the works for a little while. Am I correct from my understanding that I need to reach out to the PA? All right, I'll need to do that.
Yes, please reach out to Kelsey or Whitney here, give them the Maestro M record or account number or whatever, and we will certainly check on that for you.
Okay, thank you. And the last question, participant support, should I reach out to billing or the PA again?
Yeah, same thing.
All right.
for participant support costs, just reach out to Kelsey or Whitney.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay, we have one question from our online viewers. If a PI has a grant idea, who at our SRS do they contact first?
I think that would be proposals. If you have a grant idea, I'm not sure, I may be misunderstanding the question. If there's just a general grant idea, I would honestly reach out to Krish, Dr. Krish in the research office here. But if you have the proposal RFP and you have the idea and you know where you're submitting the proposal, then that is when you would complete the PNF and the SRS person would be contacted. But just your general questions, I would start here, and then Dr. Krish can absolutely direct you to our office if that's where it needs to go.
I also wanted to address something that I don't know that Shelley did or not, but your limited submission opportunities will still work through R&I, and then they will, once a selection has been made on who is going to move forward with that limited submission, then he will address that with Shelley's team. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Shelley. I like to add to that. SRS does not provide the services of sharing the funding opportunities or grant development or research development. Those duties are still remain within research and innovation. So if there is a grant idea, you're looking for opportunities, reach out to Dr. Krish. He helps with the research advancement, development, or myself, or your colleagues, your associate deans for research, your deans. So those are the ones you would contact if you have an idea how to develop that idea, and our office can direct you to funding opportunities. SRS functions will begin when you identify an opportunity and how to go about submitting a proposal. That's when Shelley's roles and her team's role will begin. Thank you.
Okay, and we had another question. Where can PIs find the contact information for SRS staff that serve PVAMU?
Okay, so we have a My Contacts page on our website, or My Contacts icon on our website. And the way it works is that you enter your member. So you would enter Prairie View, and then you would enter your college and department, and then it will populate your proposal administrator, your project administrator, your negotiator, right there, and sponsor billing, sorry. And so though all of those contacts will be on that one page, depending on your department. That's the way we assign our projects to our member or our staff, is by department. So each one of those, for right now, because we're still working through your very active portfolio. So for right now, your main contacts are the people that are here today. And so honestly, for post-award, it's going to be Whitney and Kelsey. For sponsor billing, it's going to be Julie and Liz. For asset, it's going to be Laura and Sam, sorry. And then for pre-award, it's going to be primarily Shelley and Stephanie, but I believe that once the PNF, is that what it's called? Yeah. Once the PNF comes in, they just look to see which ladies have capacity to work on that particular proposal. So we haven't really assigned, we have. My bad. No. I'm behind.
No. As we were talking, like when you go to complete your PNF, the one thing we were actually able to do already is we identified staff. And so we actually have your proposal administrator by college department, what have you. And we actually have that already done and completed. And Krish has that list, and it's posted for them on their site.
Oh, okay.
there are two ways you can identify SRS proposal administrators. Number one, on our webpage, pre-award services, you click on the SRS proposal administrator list, it will show the list. Number two, if you are filling in a PNF or the proposal notification form, it will ask you, click here to identify your proposal administrator. So you don't have to really know anything. When you fill in the PNF form, it will guide you to look for your proposal administrator. It will give you the name, email address, and phone number. Thank you.
And I just wanted to stress again how much we appreciate Dr. Krish for all the updates he's done and getting us up and rolling with the proposal side. So thank you.
Sorry, I have one more thing to add about that. You're not going to find standard asset contacts on the My Contact screen. Our team is smaller. We have 14 people that serve all 16 system members. So it's really more of we're managing that workload behind the scenes. So I would say if you have any questions, just to reach out to me directly, and then I can get you in touch with the right individual. And just one more thing to add, Julie had mentioned the My Contact. Our website is srs.tamu.edu, and we can be sure to send that out when we get the slides out to you as well. And Maestro, Kelsey says.
I do want to do a quick plug for Maestro. If you have not navigated it, or it's new to you, or you haven't utilized it, SRS from cradle to grave utilizes it to its fullest extent. It's going to be your first and best resource for information. And Maestro does provide trainings. They are on their website. They provide, I think, monthly trainings online. And so I encourage you, if you're not familiar with it or not comfortable navigating it, it's a very robust tool for you. And so if you have time and you want to sit through a training, I think it's about an hour and a half training. It's worth your time. So they do have some small training videos on there. But when they go through a PI training, they really get much more in depth on what you can do, how you can do it. They've developed a lot of tools for the investigators. So there's now the budget forecasting tool that's out there that they worked closely with Asset and with Famous to be able to upload budgets initially into Maestro, and then allows for the investigator to go in and kind of play with budgets and see where they're going to be at the end of the year. Because if you just use your financial system, the financial system isn't going to, so for salary encumbrances, I'll just give as an example, only go really through the end of the fiscal year. So if you have a project that is, say, awarded in May and it goes through April, then it's only going to encumber salaries for May, June, and July in the financial system. So you don't really see a good picture of where your project will be at the end of the year. So it's a tool that's been developed, and it is a very good, robust tool. So I would encourage you to look at those training opportunities. It will come to your campus if there is a group that might be easier to ask, but they are available for free, scheduled throughout.
I was just going to add for the post-award side, so both the management and sponsored billing, you know, as Julie mentioned, the main contacts right now are myself and Elizabeth for sponsored billing. You can always just contact me and I will get it to the right person on our side, and then Kelsey and Whitney for post-award. I will say for our team, for sponsored billing, right now, as we're doing audits and reconciliations of all of the over 300 active Prairie View projects, that workload is staying in a very narrow space. It will be distributed to the rest of our team over time as new projects are coming in and they're following our standard process. They are getting assigned to other research administrators on our team. So you will see other names, but if you ever have a question regarding a specific functional area, one of the best ways is just to reach out to either the managers or the ADs in that area. I will say from the post-award side, if you're emailing on a project, it is very, very, very helpful if you will give us the Maestro record number at a minimum. It just helps us expedite getting an answer to you. That's how we see our world. We know that y'all operate mainly from a contract number perspective or maybe a sponsor perspective, but at SRS, we're really operating from a Maestro record number as well as a billing project number specific to post-award. And so that is the post-award management as well as sponsored billing. So that will just really help get an answer back to you a lot quicker.
Okay, we have two final questions.
Okay.
And we're going to wrap it. So we have one question. Maestro currently does not allow multiple PIs to be entered. With multiple PI projects being submitted, how can this be resolved in Maestro?
So that's not actually accurate. It does allow for multiple PIs to be entered, and the way we manage those projects, or the way we manage them on an SRS standpoint, is that we set up what we call split budgets from those multiple PIs. So PIA may have $50,000 worth of the project, and PIB may have $50,000 worth of project, and we would split that into two different accounts under the same M record. So if there's a project that is not currently set up that way, that was set up at Prairie View, moving forward, they would see a different process.
Okay, thank you. And the last question is, how can a budget for a project that will close in 7 months be modified to be able to purchase an instrument with the remaining budget funds? Approval has been obtained by the sponsor. Who should they contact?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be Whitney. It's going to be Whitney and Kelsey. They're going to want, if they need to adjust your budget within the financial system, they will do that adjustment. They'll want to see that approval that came from the sponsor to do that. All right, Dr. Rajan, do you want to present? Thank you again for having us. We do really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Julie. And I really want to appreciate the entire SRS team to take their time and being here and chat with us. As you heard, our goal is to significantly enhance our sponsored research processes that we have at Prairie View. And this transition have already shown some great responses from our faculty and staff researchers. And R&I is working with SRS as well as with other vice presidents' areas such as business affairs, academic affairs, to improve the research process and experience by our faculty member. Within the sponsored research, I have created a new funding mechanism called interim funding. This would apply to standard grants and to begin your expenditures and grant activities at the earliest possible, and then we will recoup some of those expenses once your grant has been set up. While the contracts little bit may take some time or set up, 10 days, which is significantly faster than what we were used to be able to get things started. So I'm really excited for all of our researchers on campus. And we're also looking into some improvements in expediting approvals, such as travel approvals and things of that nature. So that means PIs also take more responsibility in doing things in a right way. And if you have questions, you have to check with your project administrator so that you do not make unallowable expenses. And if there are, it would be up to the PI's responsibility and the department heads and the college's responsibility. So it's a shared work, it's a collaborative work. We all have to take our duties seriously and work together. And I was very excited to hear no more DBRs needed for PIs to make a change of their budget as long as it's approved by the sponsor. And one email will make things happen. So I'm excited to see such improvements in the bureaucracy to make the PI's operations much more effective and faster. I want to wrap this session fairly quickly, just 1 or 2 minutes, to showcase how we have done in FY23 our IDC revenues and how we have reinvested back into our research community. As you see on the slide, our sponsored awards we received for Prairie View in FY23 is close to $100 million. It's $98 million. That includes research and non-research. How much was the research awards? As you can see, the research awards equates to $30 million. What does it tell you? Our research is 1/3 of our sponsored programs portfolio. The remainder of 2/3 is non-research. So Prairie View does a lot of instruction, scholarships, outreach, training, and all of that. And with that being said, the research awards is primarily what generates the IDCs. And compared to $100 million of sponsored activity that our staff and researchers and R&I tries to facilitate, including now SRS, the IDC was generated last year was $3.86 million as you compare with $100 million of sponsored activity. So how much is it? It's just 4% of our entire sponsored activity that we do. But still, what did we do with that 4% of total awards, 3.86 million? 1.15 million, that equates to 29 or 30%, was returned back to the PIs, department heads, and the deans to reinvest your research, your professional developments, and things of that nature. 8%, supposedly 8% needs to go to VPRI, but VPR received 4.3% of $167,000 last year. And Vice President Business Affairs received $200K, and the remaining went to 2.34 as shown on the pie chart. And oftentimes they say 60% goes to OSP. What do we do with it? And that's what it shows on the pie chart. 19% went to faculty research grant awards, such as PRIZE program and other faculty grant programs. 15% went to faculty support for undergraduate research students. That's the orange part of the pie chart. And then 19% of that funding went to PIs to support them with graduate student support. So all of them adds up to 53% went to faculty members for their research development. 11% was used for Maestro service fee. And then 27% was used for research infrastructure that include OSP staff members, salaries, wages, training, development, and operations. 9% went to OSP and college infrastructures, meaning equipments, facilities, some staff support, things of those nature. So I just wanted to take this moment and give transparency with what we receive, which is not a lot, and how do we share that back to our campus. So PIs, we all have to ask for the maximum budget that the sponsor would provide, and also ask for maximum IDC so that we would be able to return it back on the investing on faculty, students, and infrastructure research. So with that, I want to thank once again the entire SRS team for taking their time to meet with our campus community. This is the start of many, many more trainings and developments to come. R&I is recruiting few more staff members on research development. They will be working closely with SRS to develop more training programs for our faculty and staff. So with that, thank you very much. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the day.